Hi, hello, Salem. I'm Robert Eggers. I wrote and directed this thing, I'm extremely privileged and happy to be in Salem sharing this with you guys the day before this thing opens. But we got rid of the feedback. Okay. So anyway, enjoy the film and stick around. There's going to be a discussion with some incredible historians and myself, and then a Q&A. So we will get into it then.
Robert Eggers, come on up. Come on down. Star of The Witch playing Thomason, Anya Taylor-Joy, Salem best-selling author of The Lace Reader and other books, and one coming up soon, Brenonia Berry. Come on down, Brenonia. Last but far from least, the Dean of Salem Witch Trials Historians, proud Salem State alum, author of numerous books on both the Salem Witch Trials and the JFK assassination, Richard Trask. You know, I'm the person, when I'm watching a movie at home, a historical movie, I'm the one that my daughter's here, she'll know this. But that's not right, that's not right, they got that wrong. That's the wrong barrel, the wrong accent. We had an audience here a couple weeks ago to watch this, and we didn't see anything wrong. So,
we always see things.
So my question to you is, one was, how did you do such a good job? But also, two, why was it so important to you? Because I've worked with enough movie crews where they're going, come on, Ted, this is good enough, or we can't do that because it'll cost us too much and takes 2 weeks. But to you, it's obviously really important to get not just the set right, but the accents, the dialogue, all coming out of the 17th century. The best 5-minute clip I've ever seen that I want to show my students on predestination and what it means when Caleb and his dad are talking about Sam, and I can't guarantee he's in heaven. So talk to us about that.
I emailed my producers to say that, only a historian would like that scene. The thing is that my philosophy is that it's not enough to just compose a nice shot, even an appropriate shot for the story, and having a good design. Like, in order to actually transport an audience to another world, this has to be so personal to me. Every single frame needs to be as if I'm articulating my memory. So this has to be my memory of my childhood when I was a Puritan and how my father smelled that morning in the cornfield and what the mist was like on the corn. And if I'm going to articulate with that kind of specificity, then I really need to, do the research. Additionally, with this film, I was trying to understand how the Salem witch trials happened, how the witch Holocaust in Europe happened. And I think because today, when we think of evil witches, I'm not talking about white witches and Wiccans and contemporary witches, but when we think of evil witches, it's as if it's something that never existed, and it seemed like a sort of conspiracy of sexist clergymen who said, you're a powerful woman, so I'm just going to call you a witch so I can kill you because I can't deal with that. But to actually understand that in the early modern period, for everyone except for a few people in the extreme intelligentsia, the real world and the fairy tale world were the same thing. And if someone called you a witch, they really thought you were a supernatural being capable of doing the things that the witch does in this film. So if I'm going to get audiences to actually go along and accept that, we have to be transported to the 17th century. We have to be in the mindset of these English Calvinists, or it's never going to work. So if I was going to say, the cupboards, we could get some, fence posts from Home Depot, that'll be good enough.
Pressure treated, please, right?
Yeah,
pressure treated, right?
Pressure treated, and it's no one's going to jump up in the audience and say, that's not hand-riven oak, this is bullshit. But the more of those things that I let slide, the more that it falls apart, and the more the specificity is not there, and the more you can't actually believe in this.
This is not easy to portray a 17th century girl, let alone someone who's accused of witchcraft. I mean, you must have been an immense amount of work and research to do it, and to do it so very well.
Well, first of all, thank you. It was my first movie. I didn't know any better. I just kind of showed up and tried to do my best. And thank you. That's very kind. yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was normal that like the schedule was changing every 15 minutes and, you know, the dolly's kind of like sinking in the marsh and we don't, like, every day was so hard, but Rob really like willed this film into existence. And more than that, when you feel compelled to tell a story and all, like everyone was so gung-ho on this, like we just cared about the movie and we needed the movie to be right. And so I don't know, it wasn't like, actually, at the time, it was the happiest time of my life. Thank God I'm not method. Like, that would have been horrible. Like, really, really awful. But no, it was wonderful. It was really, really great. And I actually just sat down and watched it again because I was like, there's no way I'm going to Salem and not watching the movie. Like, that's not going to happen. And, you know, it's like, it's the first time I've ever been able to actually see the movie the way that, well, not obviously exactly how you guys see it, but I've, you know, sort of seen it. And like, Rob, thank you. Like, damn, that's a good role. Thank you so much. Like, honestly, I'm so, so lucky. So lucky.
So am I.
Brunoni, you go ahead. But first you have to, I think, before you preface your question, tell us what you thought. Why?
Tell what I thought?
What you thought of the movie, and then you can ask.
I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was wonderful on a lot of levels. I thought it was accurate. That was the first thing. We all sat in this audience holding our collective breath. Just saying, oh, please, not another witch film that, you know, just going to be blood and guts and gore.
This is the witch film.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But
The witch.
The witch. Not another witch, the witch. But one of the things I wanted to say was that they say in great literature what you do is pull in all of the senses. And I think you really accurately did that in this film. And I wanted to know if you could talk about that a little bit. It's hard to do. I mean, I think I could smell the place too, but how really did you do that? And then a second question to you. You had talked about the heaviness of the costumes and what that was like, so that maybe you want to answer it as well from your point of view.
Again, like this goes back to what I was saying about articulating the memory, you know, and so that it's all down to that. And I write smells in my screenplays always, and it's, I mean, and it was really interesting to learn how like dung was such an important part of life. You know, like I didn't understand how feces was so important, and like and dung could be a pleasurable smell almost because like you know what it could do for your crops. Even human feces, you know, would be kept, and your urine would be kept, you know, all to use around the farm. Yeah, I was really thinking about the smell of dung a lot in in trying to make this film.
With that in mind, too, I wanted to mention the sound because that was such a big part of this, with the constant prayer, unanswered prayers, basically, the sound of the forest, and I wanted to ask you about the drones.
Drones are sort of like low tones that are played sort of like subliminally, but we were trying for everything to be very organic. We wanted, you know, nature to be this overwhelming force that you are always like hearing.
In terms of the costumes, like day one, Kate and I are putting them on, and we had like our trailers like next door to each other, and we both sort of stick our heads out. And we're like, how the hell did women get dressed? Like, you need like 4 people to do this. This is so hard. By the last week, I was just sort of like, I could do it in like 6 minutes, and it was really great. And actually, the body was really comforting by the end. It was like a warm hug. I don't know why, but like, you know, the way that I'm dressed, like by the river with it like hoiked up, like I could be very comfortable in that for like a considerable amount of time. It was fine. The jacket, that is not my friend. Like if you see me running, you see that my arms are kind of going in any direction because like it facilitated this, but no other way. Like this was the way that I went, like a Barbie like stewardess. Like it wasn't happening. But no, you know what? Like it was such a way into the character, the way that like everything in this film is a way into the character, and it was a real world, and we really committed to this like play pretend so that hopefully you guys can commit with us. I think that's sort of the plan.
You know, I often tell my students that they wouldn't want to go back in time to the 17th century because the first thing, the stench would overwhelm them, right? That would not be the fun part of it. Richard, you got a thought or two?
Just a couple comments. First of all, after seeing it in preview a couple weeks ago, my first reaction was Freddy Krueger meets Nathaniel Hawthorne. Tad and I and some of the other witchcraft people around here have been involved in a number of productions before, and we're always disappointed. And like Tad, I tend to be anal retentive when it comes to specific objects and things like that, so I always criticize those films that I know something about. And when I was invited to the preview, we came down here, and I was thinking, oh, it'll be nice to see it. And I was actually blown away. Horror genre is interesting, and I like it. But I'm also looking at all of the details, and I have never seen for such a low cost production such wonderful production values in a film. I was involved many years ago in a movie called Three Sovereigns for Sarah, in which Vanessa Redgrave and 2 other Academy Award winners were in. And Steve Nessenbaum and I were historical consultants, and we thought we got it really right. And when I saw this, it was just absolutely remarkable. Remember The Crucible a few years ago? Wonderful play, great author. The film was good if you didn't have to look at the visuals, but I can remember the first scene in which John Proctor, who happens to be an ancestor of mine, is talking to someone in front of a building. And I lose exactly what they're saying because I see the circular saw marks on the clapboards that's behind them. And most people never go into the details, and I've always thought that it's the little things in a historic drama that really make the film authentic. And this is one that I saw in the credits that Jim Baker at Plymouth Plantation was involved. I don't know how much he was, but you did a marvelous rendering. The other thing, and I'm talking too long, but the other thing that I found so...
Keep going.
so nice for such a low-budget film was that, first of all, the cinematography was just beautiful. I love the scene when they're going away from the settlement and they're in the two-wheel wagon, and it just looked so authentic and so beautiful. I was just going to ask, first of all, I thought the actors in it were fantastic, and aside from Anya, are the rest in mental institutions today?
Yeah, I was very lucky when I finally found investors who wanted to make this film the way I wanted to make it. Like, my creative producers, Jody Redmond, Jay Van Hoy, Lars Knudsen, they got what I was trying to do. But other people were like, child actors from the UK and like building all this stuff, period accurate. Like, this is a waste of money. But when we found people who got it, they let me cast whoever I wanted. And so I was looking for people who are great actors, but also good people, so that when we were going to these dark psychological places, we could get each other out. We could support each other. I would just like to know that with the children, they didn't know what the story really was. They did have like a Disneyfied idea of the story, and with them it was more like puppeteering and dance choreography and kind of. I mean, if you tell a 6-year-old, okay, Lucas, open your mouth a little bit, don't blink, now breathe. Breathe a little faster. Breathe a little faster. Breathe a little faster. Breathe a little faster. Then cut before he laughs and put a witch on the other side. He looks scared.
All right, then. We've sort of had our shot, and I'm sure we'll chip in, but the panel would entertain your questions and thoughts. Yep.
The scene of Caleb's death, which is a long shot, a long run, how long did it take you to shoot that?
So Caleb's death scene, this whole film is very, very, very meticulously shot listed. The blueprint of the cinematic language of the film was insanely specific. But that scene, Jaron Blaschke, the DP, and I just kind of threw our hands up and said, this is 11 pages of screaming, and we have to do this with the actors. And so I'm very proud of that scene because it's the most collaborative in the whole film. It was really, I got back to my theater roots. We rehearsed that scene the most. It was everyone coming together to do this. And also, Harvey's performance is incredible, and we knew that if that scene didn't work, even if the rest of the film was good, it was over. People would just be like, you could not continue. So basically, it was everyone also coming together to work with Harvey, and particularly Ralph Ineson, who played William, but also Kate and Anya and Harvey's father, and everyone was just drilling with Harvey to get the muscle control, to do all this kind of stuff that needed to be done. And additionally, what was really complicated is that he couldn't know the subtext of what he was saying or the physical actions that he was doing. So that was like something that had to be done extra delicately.
Can you talk about the choices behind the design of the male devil figure at the end, and kind of what made you choose to represent that character in a human form versus something else, and who is that guy, and what costume is he kind of in, and how did you create that being?
There's lots of accounts of of the devil being a dark complexioned man in black clothing with a high crowned hat. The man who we cast, Wahab, is like the most beautiful guy you've ever seen.
Stunning.
Like,
oh my God.
We dressed him like extremely. It's a shame because it was the most expensive costume in the film. But he was a very, 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 very lavish cavalier, based on Charles I's wardrobe, only with black lace. And you see that his like gaudy cavalier boot with the golden spur and all that business. So it just it seemed, that guy knew how to live deliciously.
I just wanted to say, living here in Salem and portraying a lot about the witch trials and about the feeling of terror that people felt when they hear something like this. I just thought the score, coupled with certain moments in the film where you could see that family's anguish and their terror, abject terror, what was happening, was for me what made it the most real, because that's something that a lot of us have sometimes trouble portraying to the average person, and people kind of don't understand what could make an entire community go to those lengths. And I thought that this film depicted that so well, just the terror and the absolute importance of, as other people have said, the term witch and what that meant to those people in the 17th century. It was wonderful. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
May I ask, what specifically were your influences for the idea of witchcraft? Was it just the reading the transcripts of the witch trials and reading books like the Malleus Maleficarum, or were there other books or ideas or influences from other places?
Even if the evil witch only exists in the mind of the ignorant, like, she was such a huge idea in the consciousness of the early modern period that we're still dealing with the ramifications of that today. So it's important to go back and understand what that actually meant. But basically anything I can get my hands on. I kind of stayed away from Salem specifically just because it's been covered. So I'm just looking at it saying, what are the tropes that appear always? Like, those have to be in the film. What are the ones that speak most personally to me? Those have to be in the film. And then what are the sort of strange, exotic things that I'm really attracted to, and I don't know why. For example, the hair is still a big part of European folklore and mythology, but because we don't have these wild hares and jackrabbits aren't really the same, it didn't carry over in North America. But somehow it's still, that archetype is still rattling around in the unconscious of Western culture, even over here. So some people are like, "What's that bunny about?" But
That's a vicious rabbit.
yeah. But often people are like, "Whoa, like that was I don't know what that was up," and that's great.
I thought the whole film was a metaphor for our time. And I wondered if that was intentional.
I like archetypal storytelling. And archetypes constantly reconstellate themselves. So therefore, it is timeless. I also didn't necessarily set out to make a feminist film when I was dug into this, but just feminism just is bursting out of the pages of history. So therefore, it's bursting off the screen, and I'm proud of that.
Well done.
I was wondering, where exactly did you shoot, and how many locations did you shoot on?
Not many locations. Basically, I wanted to shoot in New England. I'm from New England, by the way. I'm from southern New Hampshire. I envisioned that this family was leaving the Massachusetts Bay Colony and going to southern New Hampshire. I kept that as a private thing, and I asked Jim Baker. I was like, Jim, where do you think these guys would have went? Well, southern New Hampshire. Yes. But basically, we were only able to make the film by going to Canada, which at first I was disappointed about. But basically, we had to really scour to find a forest system that looked, like southern New Hampshire with white pines and hemlocks that were of a size. So we ended up going way off the map to this place that was it was out in the middle of nowhere. We had no cell service, no Wi-Fi. The small town that was an hour away had the cell service and Wi-Fi was kind of barely existent, but it was there. And because of our budget, we needed to find a place where we could build the farmhouse, but also the woods around the farmhouse could be the woods that we're actually shooting in. The witch's hovel was a little further away, and the meeting house was built in a derelict lumber mill in the town. And then we did do a tiny bit of stuff in Massachusetts, after the shoot wrap, but it was pretty much all this one area that was near a national park in a place called Kiosk. That was an abandoned lumber town.
I have such a silly question. But I'm dying to know if the characters of Will and Kate were intentionally named Will and Kate.
No. Yeah, but no. But so this is the family dynamics are similar to my family, and my parents are Walter and Kelly. So I wonder sometimes if that was unconscious. I'll also say, just since you actually might care, some of you here, that I understand that the sort of climax of the film seems a bit potentially too much like continental witchcraft. Yes. But I did find evidence of goats and nudity and such in English and New English but never in this kind of cohesive Goya-esque climax. But I still felt that it was important and keeping with the general, witch archetype that needed to be there. Also, though, goat farming was not cool in England at all. You were a real loser if you were a goat farmer. So I don't think that it got the opportunity for that goat, mythology to really thrive. But because the early settlers brought goats over because they could eat anything and they were smaller than cows, I felt I had the right to do it like this. So
it's amazing when you study the New England witch trials that there is almost no sex involved. It's very, very Puritan witchcraft in that sense, right?
But at the same time, if someone's sitting on top of you,
I know it. This is the Bridget Bishop coming in and smothering those poor young men at night by laying on them while they're sleeping. Yeah. We wonder what's going on, don't we? All right, one last question here.
I was actually really impressed by your journey of. Over here, sorry.
Right there.
The journey that you took in becoming the witch. In that way that through the power of a pointed finger, you had assumed this role that you weren't really originally. And then going through that transformative process, have the initiation of this idea, this concept of what ancient witchcraft sort of was in that distorted lens. It was really powerful to see that culmination, especially starting from the beginning where you have that, the idea of the baby, the innocent soul being rendered into this ointment to fly to the witch's sabbat. It was such a powerful image because people try to make that thing, but it's that's what these people thought were happening. It's and to go through that, and when you killed your mother and you saw the death of your father and you go into the woods, and you ask for the devil to be there. Oh my gosh, it was so powerful. And it was so powerful that you were able to capture that in a way that wasn't cheesy or obnoxious. So congratulations.
I feel like you get me. This is so great. Thank you. No, I mean,
You are in Salem.
well, this is actually the thing. Like, most of the time, I'm pretty like happy and bubbly, and I talk a lot. But like, I have huge empathy for my characters. Like, my characters are real for me, and they're people that I care about. And from the second that we got into Salem today, I've just been crying all day, and it's been really, really intense. And it's because, like, Thomason is someone that I really care about. And so the fact that you could, like, follow that journey with me, that means the world, man. I don't know what to say. I will say, however, well, whatever. I will say that it's really interesting how so many people have different interpretations of this movie and how they believe in these interpretations. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's cool. Like, you can believe whatever you want to. It's not, it's as valid as what I believe. It's as valid, It's as valid as what Rob believes. It's really important that everyone kind of just, like, brings whatever because there are people that believe that Thomason's a witch from the beginning. And I'm like, okay, if you want to believe that, that's totally chill. It's okay. But, to kind of contradict what I just said, that's the way that I've always felt about it. So to hear you say that at our, I think, final screening is really, really important to me. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And one last thing, if I could. Also, the choice of the spurs for the devil, and that sort of that Bonnie Prince Charlie sort of attire was really great. I dress like that, so that's why I say.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, those Cavaliers love their spurs. I do want to say back to your point that also, like, I saw Thomason a little differently when I wrote the script, and I think too much of a victim. And when Anya auditioned, she had so much power and so much strength, and she was just kind of like exploding. Like, you felt like there's no way she could be a good Puritan, and that just, I mean, the whole film works because of Anya, what Anya brings to that character, and the mystery and enigma, like, in her face as well. But that's what's so great about Thomason is as the most marginalized person in the culture, because the family is like a microcosm for the society. She has so much strength and so much power, and it's well, anyway, thanks for auditioning.
Congratulations, Robert and Anya. It is wonderful, and when you are big stars, still come back to Salem for those previews.
Oh, we will.
And my thanks to my friends Vernonia and Richard for chipping as well too, and thanks to you all for being a wonderful, really well-informed audience who I think impressed our guests a great deal with our knowledge. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you all. Really.